Hi and welcome to the Andy Gorman Golf One podcast, and I'm here with Gareth Shaw again, and you can see Gareth is just still hanging around in Abu Dhabi, but it is the backdrop. Just in case you were wondering why he hasn't got a suntan, having been there for a week. But ultimately, yeah, we're here to share tour talk. We've got the start of the European season in Abu Dhabi, talking about the great win from Tyrrell and Angry Golfers. Just check that one out. Check the link below. And, PGA Tour, why is Tony Finau still struggling to get over the line? And of course, Jessica Korda, the LPGA, things that are going on out there. So we also got one eye. We've got one eye looking towards, very much towards the PGA show, which is this week. In a slightly different format. We'll share that in the very end. But again, that'll give us a link into next week. So hope you enjoy the show. Thanks for watching and listening. And if you want to help us out with anything going forward, feel free to drop us a line and we'll get to your question through the show and we can answer what it is that you'd like to know. So if there's any topics about golf, feel free. We're there to help. We'll catch up soon. Hi Gareth, how are you doing?
Yeah, really good. And I'd rather be behind me in that lovely scenery, in that vista.
Well, I see, I have been behind you, exactly where that clubhouse is. It's very impressive. The course is spectacular. I mean, it's superb. Great facility all round. The hotel's awesome. You know, it's perfect for golf. I mean, it really is. You know, the weather conditions and everything else. I mean, it's going to get a little bit warmer as you go into sort of April, May time, but obviously into the summer. But yeah, for this time of the year, it's just an incredible place to be. And what a phenomenal tournament. Had the mix right the way through the weekend, didn't it? You know, I mean, it for me, I think, you know, it was good to see, you know, the feature groups as we'd expect them to be. You know, sort of Westwood was playing well, you know, early doors, and you know, but he had a bit of lefts going on the second day. You know, struggling to get through the ball. I don't know if he was carrying an injury or, you know, or what, but you know, and then Rory just couldn't seem to keep his new driver on the fairway.
Same with the 3-wood. I noticed Rory switched to a 3-wood as well, and he couldn't keep that on the planet either, could he?
Absolutely. You know, I think there's some pretty peculiar things going on, really. You know, and to some degree, I mean, it did kind of turn me off watching it, you know, live, because I didn't see that much great golf. Just it's not entirely true. You see it in fits and starts. I didn't see anybody sort of ripping it up. I know there was a bit of breeze around, as there is at that kind of resort. You know, there's oftentimes a good bit of breeze that comes across the deserts. So, you know, and I don't know if you saw any of that sort of wide angle stuff, you know, and literally you just see this little pocket of oasis of green inside the desert. It's quite spectacular. But yeah, you know, the conditions were tough, and you know, the players played it well, you know, but there's, you know, Tommy Fleetwood obviously took a little while to get going, sort of, what was it, 10, 11 holes. You know, he was just completely lost, you know. And folk were asking the questions, you know, is it the new equipment? And, you know, it actually wasn't the new equipment because he's been playing it for a while, but an agreed equipment deal. So, you know, he hasn't got the cushion of being able to go elsewhere and look for something if it wasn't working. He's now, you know, a tailor-made player. You know, but of course, you know, he blistering second day. I mean, just went out there, and I think he had nine birdies in 26 holes or something like that, which is pretty impressive golf. So, you know, I thought he was going to be, you know, the man on the mission, really. But there was somebody else who was on the mission. My word, Tyrrell Hatton. What an incredible week's golf. You know, steady start. You know, played his way nicely into contention and just relentless. You know, he's turning into quite a special player.
Well, What is it with him, Andy? Is it just the consistency of he's always there or thereabouts, near the kind of top 5, top 3, and he kind of gets on little runs? What makes him that kind of contender and that special person to be able to win tournaments?
It's kind of a, I remember watching him in the earlier stages of his career when I first went out on the European tour, and watching him, and there was something about him that just was endearing. He could see the little frustration in him. We'll come back to that in a row. You could see that he got into, and I think he just beat himself up a bit much. And, he got himself into contention. He had a bad shot, lose it. Saw that at the PGA, missed a short putt. I remember him losing it a little bit. And, but he's now got the ability to be able to snap himself out of the tantrum and into, just an incredible run of, sort of getting it right, birdies and, pars on the tough holes. And I think it's, he's maturing. That's the bottom line. He's maturing as a man, as an individual, as a golfer, and he's a man for the big tournaments. I mean, 4 Rolex events now. Obviously, John Rahm's the only other player to have done that. But 4 Rolex events that shows you that the guy has got some serious mettle. He's serious about the Ryder Cup. He's won in the States, no small event either, obviously winning the Arnold Palmer Invitation. And you would expect him to just bag a major at some point.
He's my tip this year for the Open, I know it's a bold statement this early on, but I think he'll win the Open.
I'd love to see him win the Open. I think, he's the type of guy that... the thing I like about him is there's no fluff. There's no... he's not got pretty swing. He's got a very functional, very practical action. He doesn't look like he's about to change anything anytime soon, in the search of the perfect swing, as so many players do. He doesn't have too many faults, in terms of where it can go wrong. He just seems a very, very solid player. And I think if he continues the mindset of, I'm just going to be a very solid player and work as hard as he doesn't strike me as the type of guy that's going to get there and say, you know what, can't be bothered, going to have 6 months off. He's desperate to play. And, the fact that he played, as much as he could through a wrist injury, sort of 15 months ago, that told you everything. And he starts winning. He's winning tournaments with a wrist injury, and he's about to go to have surgery, and he comes back and wins, again. And he's just quite, this guy, one, he's got a good surgeon, obviously, but, he's just got something a little bit special. I think we would call it the X factor. I think he's got a good season ahead of him, and I think he'll be a major player in the tournaments, in the championships. And I think where we it's very difficult to not want to try a little bit harder when it comes to championships with the majors, and but he can play the big events and he can win comfortably as well. And that's the thing, I'd love him to get a good run at the Masters. And, has he got a game for US Open? Bryce has showed us that you can have. He does drive it well. Drives it very nicely. And, he's clearly very comfortable with his equipment deal. And, he's just signed a new deal there. And, I think it's great to see, and he's now become the top Brit in the world rankings over. He's jumped Rory, which is just kind of. Who'd have thought that Tyrrell Hatton would have been the number 1 Brit at this point in time, and with Rory being so close to, to the top, or the top handful of players, and all of a sudden it's like, Rory's hanging on to a top 10 position at the minute.
Do you think he's that kind of player, though, that until he wins a major, he won't be put in the same circle as the Rorys, the Rahms, that he thought about for winning tournaments? He's almost in the same circle, I think, as like Tommy Fleetwood, the kind of guys who are a little bit understated. They don't really put themselves out there. They just get on with the business.
I think so. I think PGA Tour, does add value to a player's stock. And John Rahm has won some big events, as we know. And the bit that I struggle with is I think every bit of player, Tyrrell Hatton, Tommy Fleetwood, John Rahm, they're every bit as good, they're all different, but they're every bit as good as each other, but none of them have got a major yet. So, it's a little bit like if we were comparing them to a Premier League football side. They're not a Liverpool, they're not a Man United, they're not a Man City.
Stoke.
It's a Premier League. But they're not Stoke either. So, they're not scratching around trying to keep a card. Joking aside, Stoke. Anyway, for those of you that don't know, Stoke is a little pottery town in the sort of northern Midlands area of the UK. It's about as big as Stoke has ever got, to be fair. It's a little pottery town. Anyway, Gareth's just cut me off. So essentially, until the players start to win the majors, until they, start to contend significantly and become labelled as the best player that's not won a major yet. Look, even, is Lee Westwood still in that category of the Tommy Fleetwoods? Yeah, I don't think you can say that, but I would say that he's, Lee Westwood's probably an Arsenal stroke Tottenham if we're looking at Premier League, where they haven't won the Champions League, they haven't won the biggest, and of course Tottenham's not won the Premier League either, but neither has Liverpool up until last year. So anyway, we'll keep quiet about that. But when it comes down to it, we know what greatness is, and we know who the greats are because they're great and they win majors and they win them early in their career. But then greatness can disappear. Great at one point in time, doesn't mean that you're great forever. Rory was great, 4 major championships before he was 25. He hasn't won one since, was it 2014?
Yeah, it's a long time ago.
We're going into 7 years. It'll be 7 years in July since he's won a major if he doesn't win anything between now and then. And that is a long time. And it means that, he's got more and more pressure on him. He's forgotten how to win majors. Yes, Tiger had a long gap between his last one and his next one, which was coincidentally just under 7 years. But at the same token, actually, no, it wasn't. It was 11 years, wasn't it? But at the same token, Tiger had won 14 of them. He knew how to win majors and knew how to win them well, and and to feature in a good bunch as well. Rory hasn't. Rory either doesn't contend because he blows himself out the first day, or he just doesn't contend. It's just not there. So yeah, I'd like to see Tyrrell getting up there. I'd like to see Tommy getting up there, and again, John Rahm getting up there. I think they are more than capable players, and I think they will, win. They certainly have the potential to win.
Who will do it first, though, Andy? Who will do it?
Who?
How to those three? Who's going to win the major first?
My heart says Tyrrell.
Mm-hmm.
My head says Rahm. And the reason why for that is because Rahm plays 3 of the majors in his backyard, being a full-time PGA Tour player. Tyrrell, potentially, I think he has more metal, I think, down the line. And I think that's, because he's showing it in the bigger events that he's featuring in. So I think potentially he has it on the line. But, it's going to be interesting to see, who of those 3 will get over the line first.
I think Rahm US Open. I think Rahm US Open at Torrey Pines this year. He's won there before. He's won the Farmers Insurance there. I think he's a good shout for Torrey.
I think so. And, I think we're going to look at the US Open differently. I think the US PGA are going to look at the US Open differently this year with regards to what they can do to it to make it bomber proof. And if they don't do much with it, then I think you'll see more players just going out there ripping the driver at it. And I think to some degree that would be quite interesting to see. You know, I mean, they tried it at, where was the place that Koepka win it? Yeah, Koepka
Aaron Hills. Aaron
That's
Hills
the
or
one.
Bethpage Black. He's won it as
No,
well.
well, Bethpage as well, but you know, because that's just brutally long, you know. But to have, you know, sort of rough up here, you know, and yet still the bomber went out there and you know smoked it around the course. So you know, it's kind of. But again, Erin Hills, a totally different golf course if there's no crowd to find the ball for you. I think that's where the big problem lies, you know, to be honest with you. You know, you take the crowd away from the opportunity to go and find the golf ball. And yeah, you know, that's what you're up against.
No, I've noticed this week the boys had some thicker lies, didn't they? Because there was no crowd there. So they were hitting top the planet. Yeah. There's no trampling down. They're having some more gouge it out.
Absolutely. And I think that's, you know, I like the fact that you know, like in the desert, you've got the waste areas, because there are times where you've got to knock it out sideways. You know, you can, the risk reward of trying to do the miraculous becomes more significantly challenging. So I think there's a lot of things that you can do with a golf course that, you know, ultimately these, you know, the championship committees have got to start to look at and go, right, let's do something a bit different, you know, and be brave, be risky, you know, like they did at oh crikey, the course at Chambers Bay, you know, putting some tees on slopes. I'm not saying that I'm a huge fan of that, but you know, they were prepared to mix it up a bit. It's just that it's such a pity that the greens were awful that week.
Weird. Do you remember Darren Clark? I think he 3-putted from about 4 foot, I think, or something crazy. And it was,
well, I mean, Dustin Johnson had a chance to win it, didn't he? And 3-putted, didn't even make it in the playoff.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so you know, and we know they like to speed them up and get them silly, but you know, you've got to also have surfaces to put on them, and that's just, you know, that transitional period of a new golf course that's now going through its natural grass overtake, you know, and they weren't ready for it, and you know, it's a shame.
They were talking about that this week at the Abu Dhabi about the greens, because they've been in situ for a while. They've been rolling a little bit different. They've got saltier break. What were your thoughts when you played it?
It's really easy to put on. I mean, there's a little bit of grain, a little bit of grain in there, and they weren't quite. We were out there just before Christmas, 2 years ago, and you know, rolling the ball on the greens was great because we, you know, we're not used to good greens in December. You know, so being out there the week before Christmas, and then they weren't super quick. They weren't, you know, but don't get me wrong, they weren't slow either. They were running at about 11. And they were easy to see the slopes. They were easy. You know, find it difficult, you know, when the players are out there, what are you not looking for, you know, or what are you looking for? The subtle breaks, you know, this is where you can't, things you can't see, you've got to feel. You know, we talk about this, you know, talk about it on live, you know, on Friday, you know, the value of aim point, you know, how good aim point is because you're not looking for it, you're feeling it. You know, that's the bit that, you know, I really struggle with, the fact that, you know, we think we've got to see it all the time, when actually you've got to feel it.
Justin Rhodes was doing that as well, wasn't he? Justin was doing it on the piece with Phil Kenyon.
I saw that with Phil, and yeah, there's a great video clip that, you know, if anybody's looking for it on the European Tour, you know, reels, and have a look there, because, you know, it's an insight as to how, you know, a player works with his coach and what they're looking for. And, you know, I don't think there's anything, you know, unusual about what they did. You know, owning the process and, you know, sort of going through everything and how they're feeling the slopes, and, you know, that putting green as well. I mean, it's a phenomenal putting green. It's huge, enormous. You almost can't hit the ball from one end to the other. It's that big a green. But you it has the most incredible breaks on it, and we practiced on it at night. I mean, we were staying in the resort, which was phenomenal, and just have a little wander down. It's 24 degrees, and in December, down in your shorts and flip flops, and I think I'll just stand there and kick your flip flops off and feel your feet on the green. It's just and get an idea of the slopes and and the like. A different experience, but it's something I think viewers should be mindful of. That why not just, if you get the opportunity to sort of have that interaction with the ground and sort of get a feel for it. Not suggesting you go and hit 300-yard drives with barefoot, because that'll hurt your toes, to be honest with you. But certainly some of the shots around the greens, it's great. It's great fun.
What were your thoughts on the PGA Tour this week at the American Express?
Well, it's an interesting venue, isn't it? But and some of the bunker shots that you get with sort of 20-foot elevations. I know you asked the question the other day. How would you play it? Well, open the club face and swing as hard as you can. Don't pussyfoot around with it. You've got to give it a good old rip. So for me, you get offline there and you're likely to miss. Well, you've got the rocks, you've got water, you've got canyon sized bunkers, and yet Si Young Kim has no bogeys in 72 holes. I mean, deserves to win it with that spectacular. Was it 25 under?
23 under. 23 under.
23 under. Just incredible. And 8 under last round. So clearly he's rolling his rock. But it looked like a lot of people were rolling the rock, to be fair. It looked like the greens were super pure, that players were knocking in putts for fun, unless your name's Tony Finau. Because I don't know what's going on. Well, I do know what's going on there, but, he's not asking me. So, it's not really fair for me to make their judgments. But, it's just like, here's a guy who gets himself into contention and would appear to, it's a little bit like Lee Westwood, though, gets into contention. Tony Finau doesn't know how to win. Now, that's not entirely fair, because he does know how to win if you look at his history. But it is fair, because actually he doesn't know how to win on the PGA Tour. He's won once. Is it once? It is once, isn't it? Yeah.
Puerto Rico Open.
I knew he'd won Puerto Rico. I wasn't sure if he got another one, bagged another one. But he's just not. He's not figured out winning. And for somebody who appears to go a little gung ho, gets his driver out, gives it a good old rip, but then he backed off all of his drives. He's only just started to give it a good rip again now. It's almost as if, well, I can hit it 360 yards, so I'm going to 310 is good. Well, of course it is. If you only hit it 280, 310 is phenomenal. But if you can hit 360, take advantage. And he's almost like, here's my advantage, but I'm going to dial that advantage back and sort of play 3 woods or dial back the driver, and then he misses a fairway. And he's got 6 iron in hand instead of missing the fairway with the wedge in hand. And we know that statistically, the shorter the club from the rough is going to be better. It's right if you don't miss the fairway and you hit it 310, you're in the fairway and you're going in with a 6, 7, 8 iron. These guys are good with those clubs, but he's clearly got some weaknesses on and around the greens. He just doesn't have the skill. He definitely doesn't have the skill. He doesn't have that. He's using a club that clearly Ping didn't want to make, which is why he's been excused, because generally speaking, Ping staff players have to use a Ping putter. So, I can only assume he's been excused because they don't want to go down that route. And, I wouldn't want him to go down that route. If he was my player, I would want him completely away from that arm lock process. Because it's not conducive to good body movement. And with good body movement comes good posture. And he's got poor posture. He's got poor posture because he's bending over. He's a tall fellow. He's challenged, but that's the problem. We've got to get past the challenge, fit him to a putter that works for him. Get him to stand up to it. All his other clubs fit. So
34 inches his putter is, Andy. Had a look at it. 34 inches.
So has he gone back? He's not using arm lock at the minute.
No, he's using that kind of semi-claw, a bit like Tommy does.
Right. So he's playing around with stuff and not fixing the problem. So 6'5", is he? Something like that, 6'4", 6'5". I mean, using a 34-inch putter. I mean, hello. I mean, come on, please. You know, he wouldn't put size 7 shoes on, would he? Size 13 boots that he needs. And that's what he's
very
doing.
Crouched over. He looks very over.
Well, he's got to be. He's got nowhere else to go, has he? He can't get his hands on the club if he doesn't crouch over it. You know, I mean, he couldn't even get a 34-inch putter. I bet his arm to ground, his hand to ground is 35, 36 inches, just because, you know, he'll have a long arm. He's got massively long levers, but he's so tall. So, you know, and then you've got the practice time. You can't, because, you know, his posture's going to cripple his back. So all these nuances, all these little bits that will affect him ultimately are going to, well, they are coming back and biting him in the ass. So, you know, I just struggle with the fact that, you know, there's an answer out there. Maybe it's your job to get in touch with him.
I will reach out to Mr. Fee now. We'll tag him in this podcast. But what does it take, Andy? That's what I always wonder with these players. Do they go and search for answers? Do they just go to the person that's on the potting green week in, week out for the answers?
I think they are a little bit
you?
closeted.
Yeah,
I think they are. Yeah, they are. They're closeted. They're protected to some degree. Even the manufacturers aren't going to recommend a coach. You know, because they don't feel that it's the right thing to do. You know, that remember that equipment is their beef. So the problem at all times is that there's a load of, you know, let's just say that there's a dozen people like me who says that they've got the answer. You know, there's probably 50 golfers like me or golf pros like me that say they've got the answer. I mean, let's just say that we went for an audition, all 50 of us sat in front of a select committee. You know, what would you do? Well, you get 50 different, well, you might get 49 different answers. You know, you might get 2 different answers, 49 saying one thing and one being different. Well, you're going to take the one that's different or the other 49, any one of the 49. Well, for me, you know, it's quite a straightforward thing. If the one being different is different and all the others have done what I've been doing before, then you give the one who's different a chance, wouldn't you? But you don't do selection like that. Oh, well, you know, maybe that's the way it should be done. You know, you put yourself forward. There's a job interview. I'm looking for a new putting coach. Well, we don't advertise that either. You know, we go along stealthily, kind of like looking for this coach. Whereas we don't get ourselves the opportunity to then go and put our CV or a resume together and say, look, you know, this is what I can do to help you. This is what I would do to help you. So it's, you know, it's a challenge, you know, and it's a little bit like knocking on the door saying to the guy, I think you're a bit of a nutter. And, you know, well, who are you? I'm a psychiatrist. Yeah, is he going to take you seriously if he doesn't think he's a nutter himself? Of course he isn't. Does he want to listen to somebody who says, I've got the solution for your putting, mate? I haven't got a problem. You know, if he's in denial, he hasn't got a problem. You know, and even players, we know players complain week in, week out and don't do anything about it. That winds me up even more. Oh, really struggling with my putter. Whoa, hold on a minute. Don't complain about your putting. You're working on it. You're in the process. You know, I've seen it many, many times. Players complaining, and yet they've taken no steps to improve it. Don't complain with your putting. Don't complain when your putting's giving you shit. If you haven't done anything about it, that's, you know, that's the Einstein principle of insanity, isn't it? You know, expecting something different to happen by doing the same thing.
Is that why the quick fix is just put another putter in the bag and mask over the problem?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, very much so. They're looking for an answer, and it will work for a couple of days. Maybe not, but it will work for a couple of days. May work for a week. You know, I mean, how many different putters did Jim Furyk win with? You know, I mean, it's like every single tournament that he won, he had a different putter in the bag, because they're short-term solutions, and they're only short-term solutions because they haven't fixed the fault. The fault is not being addressed. You know, I mean, crikey, I thought I'd seen every variation of the putting stroke until the other day when I saw a variation on the theme that's is beyond all sorts of the pinky grip. I mean,
well done, Andy. I forgot about that. I completely forgot about that.
I mean, it was like, what? I thought it was. I thought I was watching the pro-am, and I thought it was Bill Murray doing something. It's the type of thing that he would do. And watching this guy, what's his name, Russell. So I mean, he's bent over. He's got the putter down about a foot. His finger down about a foot from the end, of the club head, and he's got his hand, little pinky on the, and then, I mean, at least he missed it, and I think he missed it left as well. So
Mark Hubbard, Andy, the guy's name is
Hubbard.
Mark Hubbard.
Right, that's it. Yeah. So I mean, just. Again, if we can get a link, we will do. But it's not.
I will put it. I will put it over the video when you were chatting.
Yeah.
I'll put it over.
If we get an opportunity to put the video out there, we will do. But obviously, there are licensing rights. But that's just what are you doing? But again, it's not fixing the problem. The problem is not down to how you hold it. Your hands are not active because of a poor grip. They're active because of poor posture. At some point, folk are going to get it. Or will they? If my stuff is being censored, then you ain't going to get it. What we got to do to overcome the censorship, eh? What we got to do to make...
You sound angry, Andy. I think you need a puppy part of the European...
I don't need a puppy. I do not need any anger management. In case you're wondering why we've just gone off on a bit of a tangent, Tyrrell Hatton's joined a group called the Angry Golfer Group. He's not on his own, but we're going to put a link to a video which is priceless. It's a good chuckle. It's been well put together. The European Tour have put a few kind of like quirky videos together over the last couple of years. Tommy Fleetwood does a brilliant job of kind of chairing the group. It's called Angry Golfers. We'll put a link on the down below. Have a look at it. Have a chuckle. You might even resonate. And of course, every time you feel that you're a little bit glum, give us a thumb. All right. So, you've got to feel good when you've got the thumbs just there. So yeah, I mean, we've had a bit of a laugh about it this morning. It's great, and have a look at it.
How would you keep a straight face? Honestly, how does Tommy, how does Stenson and Poulter, how do they all keep a straight face? It's absolutely brilliant.
Well, they are comedians in their own rights. I mean, they are funny folk, to be fair. Giving them half a chance, then they're going to go for it. And it gives them something different to go at. Look, I don't think for one stretch of imagination that this is a one-take video. I would imagine there was some kicking and screaming that went on, around it all. Because you're going to read the script and go, I can't say that. Or, I can't do that. Or you start doing it and you just burst out laughing, because you will do. But it is, they've done a really good job of it. And it's good to see that, in the difficulties of and the challenges that are going on out there, and it's, they're back in a bubble. A lot of the players spent time away from the bubbles last year, but couldn't stay away forever. They had to come back. Some struggled with that. With Beef Johnson was talking about it initially, and he kind of had to come over get out of it, and it's very difficult when you're isolating. Isolation is one of the most punishing of all sort of disciplines, really, and it's extremely difficult where we are right now. And so these guys are isolating in their rooms. So the opportunity to be able to sit in a room and sort of chat shit about being angry and have a bit of a laugh, even if it did take them 20 takes to do it, whatever. They would come out the other side of that. And, who knows that at the end of the day, there wasn't an element of it helped them as well. And I think it's great. I think it really is. It's refreshing. It's good to see. I think the guys have embraced it quite nicely. So yeah, well done to them, really. So
on to Dubai next week for the European Tour, and then America.
I know, just
Torrey Pines.
yeah,
Crazy.
another great golf course. Again, of course, it's going to play tricky because it'll be, it looks like there's a bit of wind in the area. I don't know what the forecast is. Sunshine, I would think, on the desert. But it's there's quite intense. I mean, I was talking about this over the weekend with Becky and a few other folk as well, and conversations. The guys are going out there and they're playing. You think it's all great, they're out in the sun and everything else. They're having these tests done. Sort of 3 tests to get out to Abu Dhabi. There'll be another couple of tests probably, to go and play in, literally just down the road. I mean, it is literally a highway drive down the road. They won't be jumping on a plane. It's only about an hour away, maybe a couple of hours from where they are in Abu Dhabi out to Dubai. But they're just not going to let that border open up without having some kind of swab test in there. And, so the players and the coaches and the caddies and the, sort of tournament staff are all having to go through quite a rigorous ritual of, sort of testing to be able to get out and do their job. So it is, they're playing for big money. Yeah, they're playing golf in the sun, but they're going through an awful lot to be able to do that. And that's wearing. It's hard work. It's hard work on the mind. And you're doing a lot of traveling as well at this point in time, albeit they'll be in the swing for a little while. I think they do Saudi after that, do they? So they've got the desert swing, but that'll be jumping on the plane, so they'll be going through some more rigorous tests and stuff that, so, and players will drop out, because they'll have to drop out because of again, they're isolating. What's happening to tennis? The Australian Open, the guys are still in their rooms. They've been there a week, and because 1 or 2 people on a plane tested positive, their whole preparation has been completely disrupted. And as much as the hotels are very nice when you get to some of these places, and you just stir crazy if you. Tennis players can actually knock balls against the patio window, and not knock it through. Golfers can't. It's it'd be tough to sort of go through some of the things that they're going through. But, ladies tour started as well this week.
LPGA. Their kind of tour championship. Kind of started the season.
Sort of, was it Jessica Corder?
Jessica Corder, yeah.
So I get the 2 sisters mixed up. I was about to say Nelly, but it wasn't. It was Jessica, wasn't it? 60 in the 3rd round. I mean, how impressive is that? In a Pro-Am format as well, which is kind of just... I didn't understand why they were playing a Pro-Am format, given the current regulations and everything, why it was okay there and not in the desert of, the West Coast. Kind of weird, but still, but yeah, what a terrific golf. It's 60. I don't know what she won by in the end, but
it was a playoff. It was a playoff with Daniel Kang. It was.
That's right. Well, yeah, because it looked like Daniel Kang was just going to run away with it, and then Jessica just got like foot down, and right up on the tail, didn't she? So but 60. What is it? 5 players now that have shot 60 on the LPGA. So. That's good golf, that is. I think there's another player that's going to step out this year. I think she'll be a standout, and I think America needs a standout player. It's a sister can play as well, but I think these and it's good that you've got that rivalry. I think that's something that can fuel, and they're obviously equally as good. A little bit like the Rasmus boys. In Europe, they've got the sibling rivalry, which will fuel their desire to become successful. It's got them this far, and I think that will keep them going. I think it's really good that the LPGA has got, sort of the Corder girls to be able to, sort of bootstrap the American contingent, because I think, I'm not saying it's been overrun. They've been outplayed by better golfers from around the globe. I mean, it is as simple as that. When you've got so many international players that are as good as they are fair play to them. Go and play on the LPGA, because if you're that good, you can contend. If you're that good, you kick everybody else off. If the LPGA doesn't have an American contending to win a competition, once in a while, what's the strength and power and of the LPGA tour? That's always going to be the challenge.
They're going to have a hell of a Solheim Cup team, I'll say that this year.
I don't see that the European Solheim Cup team is going to be that strong. That's not to say that we haven't got some great players. And again, a little bit like we had in Europe with the Ryder Cup, we didn't have the best players, but we had the strongest camaraderie. And, it was that created the team. Enough players playing as a team can help. But again, remember the maximum of 2, isn't it, in a team, out on the golf course. You've got the blue, or you've got the red, white and blue, going on the boards. Those things matter. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. It could be good Solheim and Ryder Cup. And it's interesting, we've got Solheim and Ryder Cup in the same year. And no talk about moving the Solheim, which of course they did, to so it didn't clash with the Ryder Cup when we had the 9/11 issues. Move the Ryder Cup. Is the Ryder Cup going to go back to being the following year? So we're going to have a 1-year Ryder Cup. That'll be interesting. One, nobody's answered that one yet, have they?
No, not yet.
Andy's asked the question first, so unlike Andy. So yeah, so it's interesting. And I think it's now we've got the season started. We're on a roll. I will be watching a bit of the Desert Swing, this week, back end of the week and into Sunday. May just sneak a little peek on Sunday. I do like that golf course at the Emirates, and again, another golf course. Not played that one, but I had a little wander around it. Couldn't get on it when I was out there last year, but great golf course. What a super golf course. And again, the conditions, it's just, I played the par 3 course there, and the conditions out there were just incredible on a par 3. It's the academy course, just super. But so yeah, we're going to wrap it up. Remember, Gareth, if you're feeling glum, pop up the thumb and go and check out the videos, guys, because they are great to watch. We'll put the links in, and everything below. Thanks for being a great audience. Again, we can't do it without you. If you've got any questions or any topics that you'd like us to discuss over the next few weeks, then feel free to ask, because, we'll mix it up. We've got some great products that we're looking at this week. We have got the PGA merchandise show, which isn't a show in the way that we would have normally done it. So I'd have been jumping on a big bird at this point in time, exactly at this point in time. We'd have been on the taxiing on the runway, heading out to Orlando now. But unfortunately, because of the current restrictions, there is no show. So we've got a virtual show. It's going to be completely different. It's going to be great to see. So Gareth and I are going to be virtually seeing each other and looking at the merchandise later this week. I've got some great stuff that I'm really interested in, and some webinars and the like. I'm going to be talking some product next week, which will mix it up a little. So that's going to be good to go. And like I say, the diary's looking pretty busy. So not a busy week. So tune in next time, and I hope you've enjoyed it. Catch up with you soon.